Welcome to New Signs That the Elite Have Given to Me. I am your host, Lindsey Williams. I promised that whenever new material comes my way that I felt was significant and would drastically affect your family and your life and your business, that I would let you know. You will not find this information from any other source. This DVD is being made because of a contact that I had with my elite friend just recently. And I will make another DVD every time that I feel information is given to me that is so drastic that the entire world needs to know it. I was on the phone with my elite friend. I must tell you what he said. It may determine the survival of you and your family. That is just how important this information is. Events similar to what happened in Cyprus are going to happen in many nations in the world. I said events that are similar. Please notice my wording. The same thing that happened in Cyprus, the elite probably will not try it again because they know that you would catch on. But I'm going to tell you what has been intimated to me as a possibility of what might happen in the United States of America. More than likely, you are going to see the following nations affected. Now, please do not take this as the final word. The elite are planning this at this point. You will probably see New Zealand have a problem. Maybe they won't go into the bank accounts and actually confiscate the funds as they did in Cyprus, but they will use some method similar to that. More than likely, you are going to see Japan have a problem. And then there's going to be one nation after the other. I hope you're catching this because all of this is a sequence of events that are planned, have already been discussed behind closed doors, and the elite basically know exactly what they're going to do. Watch out, Cayman Islands and Dubai. Now again, this is not a prediction. I'm asking you to watch these things very carefully because they can affect your knowing exactly when and what is going to happen. Any place abroad that you have your money, it is in jeopardy at this point. Whether it be Switzerland, whether it be the Turks and Caicos, whether it be the Caymans, whether it be Liechtenstein, whatever it may be, any money that's abroad is in jeopardy because, well, when I get to that point, you'll readily understand. Let me say at this point before I go any further, I will know, I have been promised, that I will know in advance before something catastrophic happens. You can depend on it. I will tell you. Whatever it takes, I will let you know. Now, for that reason, we are doing a new type of DVD. You remember in my previous DVD series, we had, I think it was 4 DVDs and 6.5 hours of DVD viewing. Because things are happening so rapidly, and because the elite are accelerating their program, it may be necessary for me to turn out a brief DVD without all of the frills and all of the extra work that's required in people editing it. So as a result, from this point on, I will do DVDs whenever I feel it necessary, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe as much as 2.5 hours, in order to give you the information quickly so that you can get it. Now, not only that, but we are going to reduce the price of our DVDs from the previous DVD series, and we're reducing this one, for instance, by 70% because I felt that every person must, whether they have the money or not, they must know the information that the elite are giving to me. So I'm trying every way humanly possible to be able to get this information out to you and to do it expeditiously so that you can have these on a regular basis whenever it is necessary. The elite are working toward a date for the collapse of all currencies. I hope you caught that. All currencies. Not just the United States dollar, whether it be the euro and the Chinese currency, the Japanese currency. It matters not what it is. The elite already, they are so far along in their program in the New World Order, which was announced many, many years ago by Daddy Bush. They are so far along in their program at this point that they are actually working on, at this time, a date for the collapse of all currencies. Now, I will refer later in this DVD presentation as to what they will use in order to accomplish that collapse, which you know what it is. I gave it on, I think it was the third DVD presentation back about a year and a half ago, when one of them said to me, "Chaplain, we created derivatives many years ago, 30, 40 years ago. This is nothing new. This has been in planning. They've known it behind closed doors for many years. Chaplain, we created derivatives nearly 40 years ago for the purpose of being able to bring to pass a collapse of all currencies when we are ready to do it." Now, they are already working on a date and a time. I do not know that date. I wish I did. But when I do, I will give it to you. So every time you see one of our new brief, or should I say lesser, or without all the thrills DVDs such as I'm producing right now, you will know that it is important and not frivolous, because you must keep up with the time. If you know in advance, you can protect yourself from what is going to happen. So, watch very carefully New Zealand, watch possibly Japan, even Canada. There are some things that are going to happen similar to what happened in just recently in Cyprus that are going to happen. America, well, I may as well get around to us, because most of the viewers of this DVD do live here in the United States of America. It has been suggested. Now keep in mind what they did in Cyprus. Please, don't lose sight of it. In Cyprus, they literally went into the bank and they said, we're going to withdraw 9% of every person's funds that in the bank. They did it without a warning. It just happened one morning. It had been planned a long time in advance, but the people of Cyprus didn't know it. In a few moments, I'll get into what really happened in Cyprus, which is quite different than anything that the news media has told you. And my elite friend told me, we stayed on the phone for probably 45 minutes one day, and he gave me the whole detail of what Cyprus was really about. Now, for the United States of America, watch out retirement funds. Now, in Cyprus, they went into the bank account, and they said, we're going to take out a certain amount, and if you have over a certain amount in your account, forget it. You'll never get it again. In America, what are they going to do? No. They won't try the same thing that they tried in Cyprus. It's too obvious. Watch out retirement funds. It has been talked about. I did not say the final decision has been made. It has been talked about, the possibility of going into every retirement fund, possibly 401ks, maybe IRAs, and one morning when you wake up to merely hear it said, we are going to withdraw a certain percentage of your money from those funds in order to help take care of the physical cliff, the national debt, health care. Watch out now. And if you are in those things, you need to be prepared for the inevitable. It has already been planned. Let me assure you of that. It was planned a long time before it happened in Cyprus. And now it is also planned for eventually every nation in the world over a period of time. Now, are you noticing that I'm trying to tell you that this is not going to happen tomorrow morning? It is going to happen gradually. It was first Cyprus, Then it may be New Zealand. Next it may be Canada. I'm saying maybe. They haven't decided exactly which nation is yet. Down the line somewhere, it's going to be the United States of America. In each nation, they will probably use a different methodology of accomplishing what they want. In Cyprus, please, I hope that you have pencil and paper. Now, I know that you'll review this DVD many times, and you'll probably give it to many other people, which I beg you to do. This is not a copywritten DVD. I beg you to copy it and give it to every friend or neighbor that you have. They must know it. And eventually they'll look back on this DVD and say, my goodness, isn't that amazing that that man knew that? Well, no. It's only amazing by the providence of God that many years ago I was invited to be the chaplain to the elite of the world for a 3-year period. And because of that, I keep in touch with some of these people who are now in their 70s and 80s, retired, but they still know everything that goes on behind closed doors. So whenever I say that this was planned well in advance, Cyprus didn't just happen. It happened by a design plan. Now, you have that pencil and paper. You've had time to get it. And if you don't catch it right now, you can go back and review the DVD. I want to give you 2 words. Disannul wealth. Now, this was the exact phrase that was used to me. Disannul wealth. This is what it's all about. You'll remember that in previous DVDs, I said that the elite wished to create forced debt on every nation, every state, every city, every county. You, as an individual, forced debt creation. This is their latest plan for forced debt creation. And when you see what and hear what really happened in Cyprus, you are going to be utterly amazed. Put down the words again now. Make sure you have them down. Disannul wealth. The mega rich and the wealthy lost approximately $10 billion in Cyprus banks. Let me try to explain. No. You say, oh, but chaplain, all we saw was the people on the streets trying to get their money out of the bank. And they're the poor people. That's not what it was all about. That's what the news media wanted you to see. They wanted to play on your sympathy. But what was Cyprus really about? Something you've never heard in any newsletter, because I only got it a matter of moments ago from my elite friend. You haven't seen it in a single newsletter yet, neither have I. You probably will after this DVD gets out, because it's so plain to see what they really did. Let me try to give it to you in a nutshell if I can. Cyprus was a monetary laundering country for the wealthy. Yes. Now, forget about those people on the streets. You remember that eventually the government of Cyprus came back and said, we aren't going to remove 9% of your funds. That wasn't what it was about in the first place. That was only a smokescreen in the front to distract your attention so that the news media could use it. What was it really about? In order to know what it was really about, I must go back to what Cyprus is. Cyprus was a monetary laundering country for the super wealthy of the world. Now, let me try to explain the super wealthy. Up here, you have at the very top the elite. Down here, you have the ordinary, everyday person on the street. Have you ever thought about those people in between that are being talked about so much by the President of the United States of America? He calls them the wealthy. Well, some of them are mega wealthy, like the man that tried to run as president and didn't make it. He owns a number of companies, Staples and a few others. You would call him mega wealthy if you'd like. Nothing wrong with that. He made it honestly, and you can make it too if you wish to, but that's not the issue. Now let's take the elite way up here. Nobody's going to touch them. They're the ones that control all of this. You have the little person down here. Everybody's going to play on your sympathy because of the little man on the street who couldn't get his money out of the bank. In between, everybody has forgotten about these people. They're the ones that own the businesses. They're the ones that give you your job. They're the ones that create wealth in the nation. They are the people who own the companies, whether large or small. And these people in between had used Cyprus as a money laundering country for years. Let me try to explain who some of these people are. Number one, wealthy Russians used Cyprus more than anyone else. That's correct. A lot of people in Russia are very wealthy, including Mr. Putin. And they had used Cyprus as a method of hiding their funds. Again, Europeans. A lot of Europeans had used Cyprus. It was fairly safe. It was safer than Liechtenstein and some other places in Switzerland. So they were using Cyprus as a method to hide their wealth. Drug lords. Oh my goodness, what I have heard about the drug lords lately would amaze you. The drug lords of the world were using Cyprus as a method of hiding drug lords. The Middle East entities, yes, many of them. Many of the Arabs were using Cyprus as a money laundering city. The people who supply weapons to the different countries where there are conflicts today in the Middle East, they were using Cyprus as a method of bringing their money in and then taking it out and buying the weapons and shipping them to the countries. All of this the elite knew about. The terrorists, yes. Many of the terrorist groups were using Cyprus. Now, let me try to explain to you what the elite wanted to do in doing what they did in Cyprus, and it's not what you've been told at all. First of all, again, the elite are way up here. Nobody's going to touch them. They long since had gotten their money out, if they had any in Cyprus. After all, they don't have to use Cyprus. They have other places. Then here is this large group of people in between before you get to the little man down here on the streets. What was Cyprus all about? It was about this group in between the elite and the man on the street. This group in between here, the elite wanted to put them in. Please catch this word, people. It is so important because I've tried to explain to you the mindset of these elite. These people in between, the elite wanted to put them in debt. Did you catch this? Do you realize that all of these, what was it? I said approximately $10 billion was lost by this in-between group in Cyprus? Approximately $10 billion. It may have been more, probably was more, but at least we can confirm that amount. What did they lose? Wealthy Russians that own businesses lost it. How are they going to keep running their businesses when they have lost their nest egg? What are they going to have to do now? They are going to have to go and borrow money from whom? The elite. Are you getting it? What about these people that were Europeans and maybe the drug lords? They've got to continue to operate their businesses. Now that they are wiped out, I mean literally wiped out in one day in Cyprus, their nest eggs, what are they going to have to do now in order to get back into the groove of doing what they've done before? They are going to have to go and borrow money. Are you getting the message, folks, that every bit of this is about one thing? The elite of the world, the new world order, wants every human being on the face of this earth, every business that's operated anywhere, whether it be Russia or the Middle East or America or Europe, they want every nation, they want every state in America, they want every county, they want every city, everything, they want it in such massive debt, and they want it there within approximately the next year and a half to 2 years. I mean massive debt, to the point that there is so much debt that there is no way any nation, the United States of America, look at what's happening to our debt limit. It's unbelievable. They're creating all of this for the purpose of massive debt. Federal Reserve printing money like it's going out of style. We're right on the verge of a major inflationary spiral that's got to take place because of all the billions that the Federal Reserve is printing out of thin air. And now the New World Order, the elite, as they said to me, wish to take this group between here and here, between the elite and the person on the street, and put them into debt in a different manner. Just merely wipe them out with the stroke of a pen. Step into Cyprus and say one morning, we are going to not give you your money back if you've got over a certain amount in the bank. Are you beginning to get the message? This is exactly what they're up to. So, what's happening? Cyprus ends as a place to hide money. Can't ever do it again. It's gone. Now, there are other places around the world where money is being hidden. It's been hid. Well, we'll go into those in a few moments. But they're going to be wiped out too. Mark my words. It's a progressive step that's going to be taken in order to wipe out the money so that these people are forced into a debt situation just like they're trying to force you and me, the small businessman of America, the United States. The Federal Reserve is doing all of this. The elite are in the process of creating forced debt creation as you've never seen. Now, a few people beat the game. Let me read you about this one. This is the president of Cyprus. His family. Now, a few people are catching it. Do you understand why I'm making this DVD? I want to warn you ahead of time. If you will listen to what my elite friends are telling me to do, telling me, Lindsey Williams, they're telling me what to do, out of appreciation for me giving 3 years of my life as the chaplain to the elite. These people, some of them now retired in their 70s and 80s, are saying to me, Chaplain, this is what you need to do. And I am sticking my neck out to say to you, this is what you need to do. I'm trying to save your dinner table and your household and your family. Now, what are we seeing happen? Cyprus is no longer that money laundering center. You are going to be facing something very similar. It's called disannulled wealth. Remember how much the mega rich lost in Cyprus, these nations around the world. They want to put them into a situation of forced debt creation. Now, you know the truth now about Cyprus. There's no more doubt in your mind, and you realize that I will tell you so that you can do something about it. Keep something in mind. You don't have to lose. You do not need to stand in a bread line. In 1929, at the time of the Great Depression, between 1929 and 1933, there were many people who made great fortunes. Not everybody lost everything. The people who knew in advance that it was going to happen, they saved themselves heartache. Now, that's exactly what happened to the president of Cyprus. I want to read it to you. The family, he knew it. He caught on to it. He got it ahead. You're getting it ahead right now on this DVD. And on other DVDs that I'll make over the next few months if necessary. I will tell you before it happens. So don't miss a single one of our DVD series. Here's what happened. The president of Cyprus, he and his family moved $21 million out of Cyprus banks into London bank accounts just hours before the Cyprus situation took place. Did you catch that? The president of Cyprus and his family, $21 million. Now, folks, you can likewise spare yourself. If you know in advance that it's going to happen, you can do something about it. Now, this is going to startle you because it comes right close to home. Whenever I say close to home, I'm talking about around the corner from where you and I live. Do you know what Canada did? Yeah, this was done, I think, just last week in Canada. Yeah, they are getting ready. The elite are setting everything up so they can do this. And they're doing it in advance. Let me read this to you about Canada. Just take a look at the Canadian government's budget for 2013. Now, catch this carefully. Particular page 144 and 145. I'm giving you page numbers. I'm telling you, you can go on the internet and pick this up for yourself. Now, this is the the country of Canada budget for 2013. Go to page 144 and 145, and it says Economic Action Plan of 2013. You are going to be appalled. This might even be tried in the United States of America. Watch out. What did the Canadians do? The Canadian government promised that they can now use Canadian deposits to save systematically important bank accounts whenever it occurs. Did you catch that? Systematic, let's see, the words that they use, this is so dastardly. Systematic important. In the Canadian budget for 2013, they have already put it in writing in the budget that Canada can do the same thing that Cyprus did. Folks, this is being tried all over the world. Canadians, you think you're exempt? It's already been written into the budget for 2013 that the same thing can happen in Canada that happened in Cyprus. Well, you say, Chaplain, I thought this was just a fantasy. No. Every class of person, I don't care whether it's rich or poor, you're going to face debt. It is a trap. Don't allow yourself to get into it. I'm trying my best to warn you that the in-between, now you and I are down here. I'm just an ordinary everyday person. I don't classify myself up here at all. I do know some of these people, fortunately, but I'm down here. I'm right with you. And these people in between, the wealthy in between, every single one of them are going to face a debt-forced creation situation. In Cyprus, all those people that lost their money, what can they do now? They have to go borrow money in order to continue their businesses, operate their houses, pay their bills. It is a forced debt creation, and I hope you're catching it. Now, Canada just said, we have the right to do that anytime we have a problem with our budget. The rich, as well as the poor, you now you must not go into debt. The elite wants you in debt. They'll do everything in their power to get you into debt. Every class of person, I don't care who it is going to face this. The New World Order. Now please catch this, because this was a statement that was intimated to me. The New World Order is in its final formation stages. Now you remember that this was announced back many, many years ago, 30, 40 years ago, by Daddy Bush, when he said, read my lips, 1,000 points of light, New World Order. It was announced. It's taken them all of these years to accomplish what they wanted. They are now in the final stages of the formation of what they want to do. Cyprus was just a new quirk in doing what they'd like to do, and this time, instead of going like they've done with the United States of America and creating national debt that is so exorbitant that we'll never be able to pay it even by our great-great-grandchildren, what's happening with the euro in Europe, now the elite decided we've got to go to reach a new class, a new type, and they did. They took these people between here, and now they're forcing debt on them, just as they're going to do on you and me every way they possibly can. They are in their final formation stages. Many of you will remember, and you've probably heard me on radio shows, so you've heard me say it. The elite do have a code of ethics. And one of the factors in their code of ethics is they must tell you everything they're going to do before they do it. Now, I know it sounds strange that the elite would have a code of ethics. They do. Very different than your code of ethics. Positively different than the code of ethics you would find in the Bible. But they do have a code of ethics. And one of the facets of that code of ethics, they must tell us everything they're going to do before they do it. They may tell you through a movie. They may tell you through a TV program. They may tell you on the evening news if you know how to listen to their buzzwords. An example of buzzwords. David Stockman was the budget director of the United States of America during the administration of President Ronald Reagan. On April the 2nd of 2013, just a few days ago, David Stockman warned, let me read you his words because this is full of buzzwords everywhere. This is what I'm trying to help you understand how to interpret their buzzwords so that you'll know exactly what they're going to do. He said, quote, "The U.S. economy is in a bubble inflated by phony money from the Federal Reserve and will burst within a few years." Now, what buzzwords would you have caught in that expression? First of all, he talks about the Federal Reserve. Secondly, he says it's going to bust. Did you catch that? How long did he say before it was going to burst? Yeah, all of these are right here, if you know what to listen for. He said in a few years. Well, I'll tell you how long that is. It's 1.5 to 2 years. Now, David Stockman warned, and let's go on. In an essay published yesterday in the New York Times, Stockman wrote, "New York Times, you could not find a more liberal publication in the country. They are telling you, they are pouring out their code of ethics to you if you know what to listen for. And you can spare your household. You don't have to stand in a soup line." Let me tell you what I did. When my elite friend recently gave me the information that he did, I was so startled. After the conversation, I got on my laptop, on my computer, and I contacted another elite friend that I know. And I said, "This is what I was just told. Can you confirm it?" I got it back. Confirmed. Exactly right. Now, I'm trying to help you understand these buzzwords. David Stockman said, first of all, New York Times, liberal periodical. Stockman wrote that the Fed's quantitative easing policies following the credit crisis has flooded stock markets with cash even while the Main Street economy remains weak. The combination, he wrote, is unsustainable. What does unsustainable mean? It can't go on. It's going to come to an end. Now, he goes on to tell you how it's going to happen. Everything is here. If you'll believe it, you can save yourself heartache. I'm trying. All right. When it burst. Now I'm quoting David Stockman in his new book. He said, when it burst. It's not if it's going to burst. It's not maybe it's going to burst. It's not will it happen like Cyprus. It's not, folks, please. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. The elite already have it planned. Barring divine intervention, this will take place the way that the elite have already decided it behind closed doors, and they are telling you in advance what they're going to do. He said, when it bursts, there will be no new round of bailouts like the ones that the banks got in 2008. They aren't, the next time around, they're going to let it collapse. It's not going to get bailed out. Stockman's telling you that. He's trying to warn you in advance. And he goes on to say some other things here. I hope you'll go back and get his article again. Instead, America will descend into an era of zero-sum austerity and virulent political conflict, extinguishing even today's feeble remnants of economic growth. Do you realize that this is exactly what the elite want? I've got to go back to an expression here. Numbers of radio shows that I've been on over the past year, people have called in and said, Chaplain, why would the elite destroy their own country? Now, the elite that I knew were all Americans. There may be a few foreign ones. The New World Order is from America. The elite, most of them are from America. They said, why would they destroy their own country? My answer was, you don't understand. The elite aren't destroying America. They are taking over America. They want the control of America. Do you realize that they have to collapse the financial system before they can step in and say, we offer you a new currency. It'll be a world currency. We offer you a new constitution. It'll be the New World Order Constitution. We offer you a currency backed by gold and silver. I keep trying to tell you they're going to back the new world currency by gold and silver. Gold must go to $3,000 an ounce in order to be able to back that currency. I know you say it's going down right now. Don't pay any attention to it and don't cash in your gold. You'll be making one of the worst mistakes you could ever make. You must buy more on the bottom. If anything, gold has got to go to $3,000 an ounce. Silver's got to go to $75 an ounce. It will go there, and it could do it overnight. David Stockman is trying to tell you what's going to happen. He says they're going to collapse the entire economy. It's going to burst. He even used the word burst here. I'm calling it bust. And it's going to happen. Not this month, not next month, not in the next 3 months. I know you're saying Lindsey Williams says it's going to happen right now. No, I'm not. I've been told you got 1.5 years to 2 years, but don't you wait that long. You can't go back to sleep. If you do, you're dead in the saddle, so to speak, as the old cowboy used to say. David Stockman is saying to you right here, the next round, there's going to be no quantitative easing 1, no quantitative easing 2, and he said they are going to let it descend in a zero-sum, sub-zero economy. And at that point, when your child is crying and you can't make the mortgage payment and the bank is about ready to foreclose and you can't afford to put gas in the gas tank, your dollar has gotten to the point that you take a wheelbarrow load to the gas station to buy fuel enough to get to work that week or to buy groceries for that week. And you'll be crying and saying, we'll gladly accept the New World Order. We'll gladly accept the new currency. Just give it to us. And give it to us quick. Do you realize that's exactly what Stockman is trying to warn you is going to happen? Now, you can make preparation for that. You don't have to be caught off guard. And again, I will say, as I said in the beginning of this DVD, I will know in advance. And I will tell you through some DVD series, which I'll produce very quickly, and get it out to you. Don't miss any of them. I'll tell you as it progresses. You have a little time left. Let me read you the next one. You must read David Stockman's book, by the way. You'll find buzzwords all the way through it. Now let me go to the Vice President of the United States of America, Mr. Biden. Now, you go back and pick this up for yourself. Friday, April the 5th, 2013. Let me read you exactly what happened. At the banking conference where Biden was speaking, the Vice President Joe Biden called for the creation of, you ready? Now, this is just a day or two ago. He called for the creation of a new world order at a banking conference. What was he saying? He is giving you the buzzwords. With new financial, let me tell you what he says we're going to have. You're going to have it. He says, with new financial institutions, updated global rules. Did you catch that? A new constitution for the United States of America. Now, wait a minute. You say, no, they can't do that to us. You better start right now. I mean, right now, today, every organization out there that believes in the Constitution of the United States of America, like I do and like I think you do, you better start right now saying, no, we will not have it. You better speak out now. You can't wait until it happens. It'll be too late then. You need to join every organization that is a constitutional organization that's trying to spare this great document that was given to us, I believe, divinely. I didn't say inspired like the Bible, but I believe it's a divine document, that Constitution. We will keep it one way or the other. I won't give it up. I don't think you will either, but you better start right now, because Biden says we'll have a new financial institution, new currency. Your greenbacks, dead, gone. You've got to get out of paper immediately, folks. Please, please, please. Get out of the 401ks. Get out of the IRAs. Don't depend on your retirement fund. Social Security is going to be gone at some point. You must get out of paper. You can't have it in the bank. That bank account, same thing could happen that happened in Cyprus. He said a new financial institution. Secondly, updated global rules. That's a global constitution. And a level playing field. He wants China and India and America and Europe and Germany and every nation on the face of the earth. He wants them all on the same level. He's going to bring America down. He's going to bring China up. He's going to bring America down, bring South America up. Are you catching this? This is the new world order, and they're telling you right now what they're going to do. You need to prepare for it today. You can't wait until it happens. Listen, they are telling you something. And I'm trying to tell you what my elite friend said to me just the other day that startled me to the point that I produced this DVD. Everyone must be in debt according to them. If you can't afford to pay cash for it, don't buy it. You must not go in debt. Pay off that house. You've got to have a paid-for roof over your head at any cost. Well, I'm trying my best if I can to help you. Well, let me go to another plan. I know exactly what happened in Cyprus. Same thing is going to happen, not the withdrawal of funds like did in Cyprus. We won't try it again, but nation after nation after nation, a similar plan will be tried. Canada already has it in their budget. America, it may have passed already. I don't know. Who knows what goes into some of that paperwork that passes Congress that they don't want you to know about? Now, there's another part of this plan. It's called unemployment. Oh my goodness, were the statistics startling. Here we go. In March, the number of people not in the labor force in March soared by 663,000 to a record of 90 million Americans that are no longer even looking for work. Now, what is that man going to do? He doesn't have a job. His children are hungry. He can't make his house payment. He'll borrow money any way he can get it. He'll pawn things. He'll borrow. Debt, 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 debt. Do you realize that unemployment is a method of the New World Order getting massive number of people who have never been in debt before into debt like they've never been before? And how many do we have here? We have 90 million Americans who are no longer even looking for work. They've given up. The jobs have moved to China and India and Mexico. What are those people going to do? One choice, go into debt. Listen to this one. Figures released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics on Friday show that 315,000 women, ladies, please, you've got to see this just like the men. 315,000 women dropped out of the labor force in March. What does that mean that household is going to do? They don't have the money coming in anymore. They'll go do anything they can. They'll go in debt. They'll borrow on their house. They'll borrow on their boat. They'll borrow on anything they can borrow. Are you beginning to see what the elite told me back nearly a year ago? Forced debt creation, Cyprus. Everybody from here to here. This wealthy. They're forcing them into debt also. They're forcing people into debt because they can't find a job. So what do? They do anything to be able to feed that family and get something for their children. Here it is again. Canada. Oh, Canada, you think you're exempt? Many people in Canada will have this DVD. Canada unexpectedly, now this is April the 5th, 2013, Canada unexpectedly shed 54,500 jobs in March. Worst job loss in 4 years. Canadian times and the dollar tumbled in Canada. Why? Forced debt creation. It's a trap. They want every country, they want every person, they want every state, they want every county, they want the entire world into such massive debt that you will have no choice but to accept their New World Order when they offer it. You can make preparations now and not fall into the trap of debt creation. Unemployment is a method of getting people into debt, and it's part of the total plan of the New World Order that you can't find a job, therefore you must get everything you've got into debt every way that they want you to get it there. Now, some of you heard me use an expression back a year ago. And I said, well, actually about a year and a half ago, I think the first time I used the expression, I said by the end of 2012, the dollar will be dead. And some people came back on a radio show recently and said, Chaplain, I can still go to the grocery store and buy my groceries with the dollar. The dollar didn't die at the end of 2012. Yes, it did. I want to prove it to you. The dollar died at the end of 2012. It just hasn't been buried yet. But it died. And I want to prove to you that it did. Exactly what the elite told me took place exactly as they said it would at the end of 2012, December the 31st of 2012, the dollar died. Yeah. Here we go. 5 of 10 top economies in the world drop the U.S. dollar. Now, catch this carefully. 5 of the top 10 economies of the world, plus a few others, no longer use the dollar as the intermediary currency for trade. This trend poses a huge risk to the dollar and the United States as it goes along. The dollar has already died. It just hasn't come home to roost like the chickens yet. But it did actually die on December the 31st of 2012. Let me give you another one. Here we are, March the 26th, 2013. The following countries met: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They met in Durban, South Africa. I want to prove to you that the dollar did die on December the 31st of 2012. I know you can still take your money to the grocery store, so you think it's all right. And what you don't realize is that the storm has already appeared on the horizon. And are you making preparations for the inevitable? Have you gotten into tangibles? Okay, these countries met. What did they say? The deal, which extends over a 3-year period, amounts to an exchange of about $30 billion in trade per year, marks the latest effort among 2 of the world's largest emerging economies to shift the dynamic of international trade that has long favored the U.S. dollar. In other words, the dollar is not the reserve currency of the world anymore. In interest, it is not to establish new relations with China, but, yeah, as you just asked China about that, but to extend relations in case of turbulence in the financial markets in the United States of America. They know we're fixing to have a collapse in America. They know that the dollar is dead. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they already know that the dollar is on the way out, that the Federal Reserve has created such massive amounts that it cannot be sustained. David Stockman told you it cannot be sustained. It's on its way. It's dead. It just hasn't come home yet. There are trillions and trillions and trillions of American dollars that are floating around in the world that are not wanted, not used. It is no longer the reserve currency of the world. It is not the petrodollar any longer, but it hasn't gotten to your grocery store yet. It is coming very, very shortly. David Stockman warns you. I'm telling you again, the dollar did die, according to my elite friend, as of the last day of December of 2012, and now China is stepping in, and their currency, if it's not already, will be shortly the reserve currency of the world and the petrodollar of the world. And these countries said, we will no longer use the American dollar in trade amongst ourselves. Let me read you this one. Got to give you one more. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, again, meeting brought 5 countries, 43% of the world's population, 18% of the world's GDP, 53% of the world's global financial capital. They met on March the 29th, and they said, we will not use the American dollar any longer in sale and trade amongst our nations, and that is 53% of the world's global financial capital. The dollar is not used, is not wanted, it's dead. And within 9 to 12 months, your dollar, as you hold it in your pocket right now, if you don't get out of paper, you've lost it. And it's not going to be long off. It's already dead. The chickens just haven't come home to roost yet because the sun hasn't gone down. I'll give you one more. This happened on December the 1st of 2012, just a few months ago. It was Phnom Penh. There were a group of nations that met. There were 15 Asian nations comprising half of the world's population. They formed a regional comprehensive partnership. Our president went there. You heard it. You heard about him going. It was all over the news media. When he got back, you didn't hear a word. Why? When he got there, they said, get back on your 747 jet and go home, Mr. President. Oh yeah, that's exactly what happened. We don't want you. We aren't going to include you at all in this regional comprehensive economic partnership. We don't want you. We're going to use the Chinese currency for the sale and trade of our products amongst ourselves. And this was 1/2 of the world's population not going to use the American dollar any longer. They don't want it. You know the only place the American dollar is worth anything anymore? At your grocery store. You know how much longer it's going to be usable there? Not very long. It's just a matter of time. I hope you're getting the message. Forced debt creation so that the elite and the New World Order can bring the whole world into their new one world order system, and the United States of America must be brought down in order to do it. You do not have to fall into the trap. There were many people in 1929 who made great fortunes, and if you know it ahead of time, and you'll begin to take preparation right now, you can do something about it. Next item. Within 4 years, the elite want 70% of all Americans to be receiving some sort of compensation from either the federal or the state government every month. This, now, are you following the traps that I'm trying to point out to you that my elite friend pointed out to me? Cyprus. They'll repeat something similar, nation after nation after nation. Unemployment. It brings on debt. 70% of the people in America receiving some sort of compensation from the federal or state government. Maybe it's Social Security. Maybe it's Medicare, Medicaid, retirement. Maybe you work for the government and you're getting a paycheck. Some sort of compensation. Within 4 years, they want 70% of the American people to be getting that. If 70% of the American people are receiving something from the federal or state government every month, it means only one thing: trillions and trillions and trillions of additional national debt, because the government gets their money only from you through taxes. Now, when the government goes into all those trillions of dollars of debt, and as David Stockman says, it collapses, do you realize that the New World Order has taken over America? They step in with a new currency, and you'll say, what are we going to do? We can stop it right now. It must end immediately. You cannot wait until it happens. This is their plan. Now, I want to warn you about something. I hope you have those pencils and paper handy. Everywhere this DVD goes, you must write these things down. I want to give you a warning from my elite friend. He gave it to me. And I want to pass this warning on to you. He gave it to me so that I can take care of my household right now. So, I'm not going to leave you hanging out here on a limb without knowing what to do. I want to actually tell you what you should make preparations for immediately. Number one, accept no handouts from the government. Now that's going to be tough. There's some of you can't do that. There are many retired people that there's no way you can get by without Social Security. But someday you'll have to. Whether you like it or not, it's coming. Make preparations right now to do what you can. But there's one thing you can do. Every time they hand you a cell phone and say, oh, you're on unemployment, we'll give you a cell phone also. Don't accept it. Don't accept anything from the government. Any government that's big enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take away everything you have. Number two, stay out of paper. You must, please, get out of paper. Reduce that bank account. Anything that's paper. Yeah, you say, well, how about gold mining stocks? What's it written on? Piece of paper, no good. If it's written on a piece of paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You must get into tangibles. What can tangibles be? It can be a spot to grow a garden. It could be a roof over your head that's paid for. It could be an automobile. You don't have a mortgage on it. You're not in debt. Whatever it is, gold, silver, it's the currency of the elite. You must get into every penny of it you can while the price is still down. Don't sell it now. Buy it now. This is a golden opportunity. Do you remember I said a moment ago, and David Stockman told you the same thing. We have a golden window of opportunity right now. The dollar is still strong. It can still be used. You still have time to do something right now. You can't wait any longer. You've got to take advantage of the window of opportunity that you've been given while the elite are trying to pull off shenanigans like they did in Cyprus, like they're going to do in nation after nation after nation, before they finally come into America and pull a similar shenanigan just before the end. And before all that's done, take advantage of the strong dollar right now and do something about it. Get out of paper. Get into tangibles. I want to warn you about your safety deposit boxes. There are, what should I say? It's more than a hearsay. I actually saw the name of a person the other day that had it happen to them. I don't want to mention them on this DVD. The Homeland Security, in the Patriot Act, it states that they have a right to go into a safety deposit box and remove coins, gold, silver, and also bars. And there's nothing you can do about it. If you have a safety deposit box, I would highly recommend that you take some action immediately. It's not safe, any more than it was in 1929 through 1933. I want to warn you about two other things that are dead giveaways. I hope that you realize that Facebook and Twitter are extremely dangerous. Do you realize how much information you're giving to the elite about yourself so that they can psychoanalyze you and know exactly what you're going to do in time of crisis? And don't you think for a moment that they aren't doing it. My elite friends wouldn't be on Facebook or Twitter for anything in this world. And you won't find Lindsey Williams on Facebook or Twitter either. And don't any of you send asking me to be a part of your Facebook account. I won't do it. Why? It's a dead giveaway. Debt is a trap. I've already said it enough. The only way I know to put it at this point is, if you can't pay for it, don't dare do it. Small amounts of money in the bank. You must, because you know what happened in Cyprus. Don't think it can't happen in America. It may not happen to the bank account. It may happen to a savings account. They may decide to go into a retirement fund, an IRA, 401. Who knows what they'll do? They, at this point, are at their final stages of implementation of the New World Order. But you right now can do certain things. And you take action according to what you can. You know, I feel so sorry for some people. I was talking to a very close friend of mine the other day, and he's a businessman. And he said, Chaplain, I must keep $1.5 million in the bank at all times in order to operate my business. But yet that money is only secure up to, what is it that the FDIC guarantees now in a bank? Yeah, I think it's about $100,000, $200,000, something like that. That's all it's there for. Do you realize that if they pulled what they did in Cyprus right now, that you would lose everything over $200,000 in your bank account? And this individual who said, I have to have $1.5 million in my account even to be able to operate my business day after day. You realize he'd lose every bit of that money if it happened here like happened in Cyprus, and there's nothing he can do about it. He'd have to turn around and borrow money to be able to continue the operation of his business. Debt. I hope you're catching the word. Inflation. I have one thing to say to you. It hasn't happened yet. Oh, a little bit. Groceries all going up in price. The hardware store products are going up in price. Inflation will begin soon. Anything you're going to buy it right now. I bought something the other day. I'm not going to tell you what. I decided that I didn't want the money someplace else. And whatever you're going to do, the prices are going to begin to go up before very long. Next thing. Oh, I wish I could warn you about this. It hasn't happened yet. But you can start to take action right now and decide what you're going to do. Health care is deadly. Oh yeah, you heard me correctly. January the 1st, 2014, health care bill takes place. I don't know how to say it. You must go on YouTube. Type in Dr. David Janda, Janda. You must see his DVD. Congress asked him to speak before Congress as to his thoughts about the health care program. He tells you what he found out. He tells you about the little instrument that every doctor will be given by January the 1st. He tells you that you will have no control over your health care. He tells you what the federal government is going to do in giving you drugs. He'll also tell you that certain people past certain ages will no longer be allowed. Oh, they will be allowed to die, but they won't be allowed to have certain medications. I mean, folks, this is so drastic. You can't possibly imagine of it. You got to realize, come on now, think about something. 4 years ago, my elite friend, whom years ago I couldn't even give his name. 4 years ago, my elite friend, you remember him, Mr. Fromm, he said to me, he said, Lindsey, the health care bill, that's before it was ever presented before Congress. He said, the health care bill is not health care. I said, what do you mean it's not health care? He said, the health care bill is the last final control factor to be imposed on the American people. Final control. Everything is in it, from beginning to end. Do you realize you'll be getting them soon? You better decide right now what you're going to do. Now's the time. Soon you'll be getting the forms to fill out for yourself, for health care, which begins January the 1st of 2014. You know what it says? There are 20 pages of it. 20 pages you must fill out or you'll be fined or sent to jail. 20 pages. You know what you give them in that 20 pages? Everything. It's exactly what they want. They want it so they can figure you out. They want it so they know where you are. They want it so they can come and get you when they get ready. They want it so that they can do everything they want to do with the New World Order. As Ken said to me 4 years ago, he said, Chaplain, it's the final straw, the final control factor of everything that is wanting to be done. 20 pages you'll fill out. 2014, the elite are expecting some civil unrest. That's right. They're getting prepared. Homeland Security has bought massive amounts of ammunition. They've bought certain protective vehicles for themselves. And on you go, the government agencies have. They are expecting the possibility of civil unrest. They do not want civil unrest. I know that disagrees with what many of the newsletter writers are saying. The elite do not want civil unrest. They want to bring in the New World Order according to their own dictates. And it won't be through civil unrest. They want you to want it so bad that you will accept it. Well, I need to offer an alternative. I'm going to put it up so it can be seen on the camera, if at all possible. Now, I hope it's being seen by the camera. You are going to need to know where to go. You've got to. You don't have any choice. Now, I had something very unusual happen recently to me. I became deathly ill. I've never been so sick in my life. No doctor in America could figure out what was wrong with me. Yeah, I know I look great today and I feel that way, but I wasn't that way a few months ago. I knew what my elite friend had told me. Now, you heard me correctly. My elite friend that's still alive in his 70s that gives me information on a regular basis said, Chaplain, you must go outside the United States of America to get help. You can't get it in America. And after health care in 2014, you positively can't get it. I called up the place that my elite friend told me. That's right. He told me. And I called the International BioCare Hospital and Health Center in Tijuana, Mexico. And I said, Dr. Rodriguez, he's the founder. 20, 30 years ago, it's been in existence. This is not a fly-by-night. This is a hospital, a health center. I said, Doctor, I've got to have help. I'm deathly ill. I arrived there. They made blood tests of every kind imaginable. There were 5 pages of blood tests they made. There must have been 20 or 30 things on each one of them. And Dr. Vasquez called me in his office a few days later and he said, Lindsey, there's nothing wrong with you. You're perfectly well. He said, there's not a red flag anywhere on your blood test. American doctors can't find it. They don't know what to look for. He said, we'll have to send off one final blood test. They did. And when it came back, he said, we found your problem. Within 3 weeks' time, they had solved my problem. But it wasn't easy. I had contracted something, whether I got it through a chemtrail, whether I received it from somebody else, where I got it from, I don't know. But I was so sick, I was laying there in the bed, looking up the ceiling and saying, Lord, I've repented of all my sins. I have asked everybody to forgive me that I can think of that I ever had anything against. I know Jesus Christ is my Savior, and if you're ready for me to go home, I'm ready to go. I was at that stage. Today I'm perfectly well again. You've got to know where to go. The doctor said to me at the hospital, IBC Hospital, they said to me, they said, Chaplain, there's not a doctor or hospital in the United States of America that could have solved your problem. They said, first of all, they would have never found it. And secondly, they would have laughed at you and said it was mental. Now I'm perfectly well and able to do this DVD as you're seeing today. You must take this down. Please call this number. I beg you to get this 60-page booklet immediately. You need it right now. You don't need to wait until you get sick. You don't need to wait until January the 1st of 2014. You need it now so you'll know where to go. My elite friend told me to go there. That's where they go. I want to give you their phone number. Their phone number, toll free, even though it's outside the United States of America, you don't pay a thing. Their toll free number, 800-701-7345. Now, you can go on the web if you'd like to biocarehospital.com, B-I-O-C-A-R-E, hospital.com. They will send you their beautiful packet. They will send you a DVD. They will send you everything you need to know what to do if you ever need it. And they'll be glad to do it at no charge. Please tell them that Lindsey Williams asked you to call, merely so that they'll relate to it. Or you can go, if you'd like, to lindseywilliams.net, L-I-N-D-S-E-Y, Williams.net, and you'll find my personal recommendation of the IBC hospital. There's the second thing you can do. President Ronald Reagan did it. Oh yes, he sure did. It was illegal in the United States of America. But what did he do? Many of you remember this story. Some have never heard it before. When President Ronald Reagan was president of the United States of America, he developed colon cancer, was diagnosed with colon cancer. He did not use chemotherapy nor radiation. He did not let them operate on him. President Ronald Reagan imported into the United States of America a product that at that time, it's not today, but at that time that product was illegal to be brought into the United States of America. It's called Carnivora, C-A-R-N-E-V-O-R-A. It comes from the Venus flytrap. It's an extract. It's natural. President Ronald Reagan used it, had no further colon cancer, and was perfectly well and never went any other route. That substance is now available in the United States of America. It can do wonders for your immune system. I beg of you to get some on your shelf today. I'm not going to tell you what it'll do for you because I can't tell you what it can heal. But I can tell you, you need it on your shelf today, and you need to go through the regime of it. Here it is. Please give a call. It's toll free. 866-836-8735. President Ronald Reagan used it, and he had no more colon cancer. I will say no more. It's a matter of history. Again, that number is 866-836-8735. Now, folks, are you beginning to realize that what I said at the beginning of this presentation, I want to save you heartache. I'm trying my best to tell you what has been told to me that I verified by a second elite friend. Not everyone stood in a soup line in 1929 through 1933. There were many people who survived and made great fortunes. If you will listen to what my elite friends have told me, you can save your dinner table and save a lot of heartache in your household. You have some time yet. I want to give you some hope. First of all, the elite pulled off Cyprus. Now it'll be another nation. Watch it. Mark my words. In a few months or a few weeks, you'll see another nation. And another, and another. With a similar event take place until it finally gets to the United States. The dollar is already dead, but you can still buy things with it because it's fairly strong. It just hasn't been buried yet. But it will within probably the next year's time. There is something you can do. There is going to be a collapse. But the collapse is not going to take place in the next 2 or 3 months. It will take place according to their program. But you've got to begin now to do something about it. The dollar will collapse. America is the world's only hope. Please. I spoke in Canada a few years ago, and after the meeting, a gentleman walked up to me. He was a Canadian, and he said, "Chaplain, I'd like to ask you to do something for me." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I want you to go back to America." He said, "I want you to fight for everything you're worth." He said, "You're the only nation on the face of the earth that can spare this world the New World Order." He said, "You're the only country in the world that has a constitution." And he said, "Don't you ever give it up." He said, "You go back to America and fight for all of us." Because he said, "In Canada, we don't have what you've got." Now, folks, I'm 77 years of age. I'm just as strong as I was when I was back in my 40s and 50s. Partially thankful to the IBC hospital and more thankful to the Lord who gave me back my health again. We must not lose America. We cannot give up our Constitution. The New World Order cannot be allowed to succeed. Something must be done. You can survive. There's no reason for you to look for black helicopters and look behind bushes everywhere you go. You must take action now. Now, in the points that I gave about this DVD, I mentioned a few other things, and I will give them right now. I'd like to go foreign for a moment and tell you what my elite friend is saying about what's happening outside the United States of America. And in order to do this, I'd like to give you just a few items here about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is in trouble, big trouble. And watch out. I'll give you a name. Bruce Riedel serves as the advisor on foreign policy and director of the Near East and North American Affairs in the U.S. National Security Council. Saudi Arabia is the world's last absolute monarchy. There's no other left. Saudi Arabia is the last. He said there is the possibility of a revolution in the Arab kingdom. Now, I'm warning you, it's not taking place right yet. I'm warning you to watch very carefully what happens to Saudi Arabia. It is our largest supplier of foreign oil. And when Saudi Arabia has a problem, probably from the Muslim Brotherhood, we believe it to take place. The elite already have it planned. They are running about 9 months to a year behind because of what happened in Syria and what Gaddafi did. They're running behind on their program. As I made the DVD some year and a half ago entitled The Middle East, the Rest of the Story. I hope you viewed it. But Saudi Arabia is going to see major conflict. The royal family has already made preparations to leave if they need to on a moment's notice. Watch Saudi Arabia carefully, because whenever it hits, you're going to find certain events taking place in the United States of America. And whenever these happen, I promise you, I will warn you as soon as I see it taking place, and I have some word from my elite friend. I've got to go back to a subject that I dealt with briefly in the past, and once again let you know, I need to remind you of derivatives. Please, the greatest sign that you will see from the elite before the end is the derivative market having a problem. Now, this could take place at any time. I'm trying to find my notes here. Yes, here they are, on what happened just recently. Let me give a summary quickly. The derivatives were devised, invented, back about 40 years ago by the elite for the purpose of bringing all the currencies of the world down at one time. The derivative market is over $1 quadrillion, it's estimated, and there's no controls on it. No regulations on it. The derivative market will be used as the method of not only bringing the American currency down, but every currency in the world at the same time whenever they get ready to do it, and they're not ready yet. But there are 3 signs. Please note them. 3 signs were given to me. You can know just before the derivative market crashes because, number one, there will be currency wars. Number two, there will be trade wars. And the final thing that will happen before derivatives crash, which will bring every currency down with it and every bank in the world down with it, and give the New World Order exactly what they want in order to be able to bring in what they want, the last thing that will take place is the Federal Reserve will announce that interest rates are going to rise. And as my elite friend said to me, he said, Chaplain, whenever you hear that the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates, he said, if you are still into any paper, he said, you've already lost it. He said, it's too late to get out. You cannot wait that long. Now let me tell you what happened. It happened on January the 29th of 2013. It almost happened. It started with Japan. And on that date, Japan started a currency war. It, within 24 hours, has spread to Taiwan, to Thailand, to South Korea, to China, and finally there was a warning from China, you have got to not do any further. I want to read you the statement. Mr. Y.I., I don't know how to pronounce his name, Mr. Y, who is the head of China's foreign exchange regulator, he said, if anyone is doing super QE, which currencies will desperate. In other words, you've got to quit quantitative easing, and if you don't, it's going to start a currency war, and the whole world's going to be pulled into it. It almost happened on January the 29th of 2013. Now, what was told to me was that before the derivative market crashes, number one, you'll see currency wars big time start all over the world. Number two, you'll have trade wars. They've already started. The Federal Reserve has not announced interest rates rising yet. The day they do, anything you have in paper, you've lost it. Watch the derivative market. The derivative market will determine how you can know. One of the signs, that's the title of this DVD, is Signs My Elite Friend Have Given Me. You can know the signs. And one of the biggest signs that you can watch is derivatives. And if you have trouble knowing what derivatives are, please go do a crash course on them as fast as you can. You've got to understand them every way possible. It almost happened back then. Well, I've tried to the best that I could. I hope I covered every point. There was so much. I spent the longest on the phone with my friend and then verified it through another elite friend. I've tried my best to tell you the latest that I've received so that you can begin to make your preparation, do what's necessary, spare your household. I have made some very drastic decisions recently, ones that I would not have made 6 months to a year ago. And many of you know that 6 months ago, I was advising everyone who could to have at least 6 months of cash in your house, out of the bank, between the mattress. I've changed my mind somewhat. That cash, after what I saw happen in Cyprus and what my elite friend has just told me, that cash could lose its value so quickly. You must have probably whatever you think is necessary, but you're a lot better to put it into tangibles and have something that you can supply for your family with. But there is one thing that you can do above everything else. And it's more important than anything you ever do physical. You must set that spiritual house in order. This is without a doubt the first requirement. Now, I know that in our modern day world, it's not popular to call people sinners. In fact, it sometimes could even be described as discrimination. So I'm not going to call you or me a sinner, even though I am, Lindsey Williams, a sinner saved by grace. And anymore, sin is relative, right? Gray? No, not according to the Bible. And you are going to face God someday. The graveyard attests to the fact that not everyone's going to live forever. You will pass away someday. You will face God. And His Word is what He'll use to decide what you do and where you go. So I'd like to read you from the Bible in Romans chapter 3 and verse 23. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. I would like to leave you out of that picture. I'd like to leave me out of that picture, but I can't. That's what the Bible says, and God has more wisdom than I do. But the Bible also says, neither is our salvation in any other, for there is no other name under heaven given amongst men whereby ye must be saved. And that's found in the Bible in Acts chapter 4 and verse 12. And then the answer to it all. And the solution that I beg of you after this DVD to get on your knees, right there before your television set or by your computer, wherever you are. And I beg of you to do this. The Bible says in Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 through 9, for by grace are ye saved. Do you realize this doesn't cost you a penny? No. You can't buy it if you tried. No amount of gold would purchase it. If the streets of the New Jerusalem are paved with gold, you couldn't buy them if you tried. That won't do you any good, church membership. Oh yes, nice to attend the church. Everybody should. But that's not going to get you there. There's one thing that will, God's grace. And in Ephesians, in the Bible, chapter 2, verses 8 through 9 says, for by grace are you saved. Saved from what? Sin. Please be willing to admit to yourself what you are. Please be realistic. Even if you don't let others know that you believe it. Come on. Admit what the problem is. For by grace are you saved through faith. Faith in what? What God said. God said that His Son died for you. The Bible says that His Son, Jesus Christ, died on the cross and paid the price for your sins. And if you will trust Him as your Savior, you can be born again and have eternity with God throughout all of the coming eternity. Not of yourselves, it is a gift of God, not of works. You can do all the works, you can do every sacrament, you can take this, you can take that, you can, all of the doctrines of the church, you can do every single one of them and still die without Jesus Christ. It's not works. It's not a sacrament. It's not a thing. It's God's grace. And you get it by faith. You believe it because God says it. And when you believe it, it comes to you free of charge. You don't have to buy it. Not of works, lest any man should boast. Again, the Bible says that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish, but have eternal life. Now, you've heard this verse. You remember it. If you ever went to Sunday school in your life, I'm sure you heard this verse. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God sent not His Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through Him might be saved. You can be saved right now. You can know eternal life. You can know forgiveness of sin. And you can know a turnaround in America, because we return back to moral principles which made this nation great when our pilgrims came over here for religious freedom in order to get away from the tyranny that they had suffered in other lands. Will you please, right now, get on your knees right there where you are. And if you'd be willing, would you let me just suggest a prayer that you might want to pray? Our Father, I believe that Jesus Christ died for me on the cross. I'm willing to accept your word when you say that I'm a sinner. I would like to ask you for your grace and ask you to save my soul. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, I pray it. Amen.